Good morning. We wake up every morning like this at Schneider. Big drums, then a big voice, and now this is Jean-Pascal Tricoire, right? That's about how we do it. Good morning to all of you. Thank you really for being here, for making it to Paris. I have to say it's a bit of a special week here. You're going to see, not because of that digital day, but today you have 50 heads of state in Paris on multiple delegations, because it's the second anniversary of the COP21 Agreement of Paris, and President Macron has convocated a number of initiatives to confirm the commitment which had been done here. And we thought it was actually a great moment to have you here, because it's quite representative of what we do at Schneider. We are fighting climate change and managing the energy equation, and we use it mostly by the massive utilization of digital. So the 12th of December is a kind of meeting of digital and energy, and it pretty much explains what we do. Well, be careful, because as always in France, when there are multiple delegations, there is a strike in the subways. We have not yet completely changed, so be careful with that. I'd like to say that when you looked at the program, you noticed probably that there are 4 of the 6 eco-structure that we're going to speak about today. Don't try to read between the lines that there is a strategic message that we try to send. It's just like it's a lot already on our plate today, so we selected to focus on 4 of the 6. And as we told you, we're going to try to make a quarterly event on digital. So we're going to come back more precisely on the other eco-structures in the next coming events. But it's already a lot, as you're going to see, and we don't want to be spread out in a too thin layer. We have preferred to go deep into some of those eco-structures. So I'm going to do the general introduction, and then Philippe, Kevin, and Peter will go on stage and go deeper into their eco-structure of reference. We thought also today on Amit that mentioned it, that you would be certainly, as always, tired of having the usual Tricoire and Babo on stage. So we brought in the room, I would say, 10 people of our executive committee, plus Kevin, who is representing brilliantly IT. I would like them to stand up so that you spot them. Okay? So don't hesitate to, there are even like the guys that you come at the front, okay? So Peter, Industry, Chris, Marketing, Olivier, HR, Christelle, France, Emmanuel, Strategy, Philippe, Building and IT, Luc, International, Hervé, Chief Digital Officer, Leonid, Europe, Annette, US, Kevin, IT, and Emmanuel Babo to keep us on our toe, right? So with that, you know who is who, and you can point on the people during the breaks and things and during your questions. So now, without further ado, I would like to start and to enter in the subject. Again, I'm going to introduce globally what EcoStruxure is, and then the competent people will go into the details of it. And I would like to start by reminding that Schneider, what do we do at Schneider? We are a very specialized company. We focus on technologies, and what we do is to make sure that life is on. Our technologies ensure that life is on. And it's true for everyone and at every moment, but more so it's true everywhere. That means we have a very, very global presence. And to do that, we adapt really our solutions and our systems to the characteristics of each of the geography that we serve. And as we know, because we operate in countries which are sometimes poor, we know that life is on when life is powered. And that has been the origin of the company. And frankly, the world is coming really into our direction, because when you look at the projections in terms of energy consumption, and Schneider Electric is focused a lot on electricity, the power capacity will be multiplied by 2 by 2040. And I know that those are figures, but it means there will be as much investment in electricity in the next coming 20 years as there has been since the birth of electricity. So it's a massive acceleration of electricity. And you see pretty much everything turning electrical, from the cars, and electric transportation is a big thing now, to everything around temperature control. The world is seriously turning electric for one reason, is that electricity is the only form of distribution of energy that enables decarbonation, right? Second thing is that 2/3 of the capacity will be renewable by 2040, which is pretty much tomorrow, coming from a situation where it's not the case at all. And there again pushes the world into our direction. You know that we've consciously positioned Schneider on the downstream part of the energy equation, grid and downstream, and this is a place where most of the renewable will take place. With a fantastic technical challenge for us to insert renewable and storage to each part of the distribution systems. Every building, every plant, every campus, every eco-quarter will be equipped with more renewable. And then there was a tipping point that probably people didn't notice, but in 2016, the investment happening in power was higher than the one in oil and gas. So the world is really tipping. And now, yeah, we know that life is powered because there are still 2 billion of people who don't have access to the right level of energy in the world. But look at your kids. Life is on when the world is digital. I mean, if you have kids, when they arrive in the place, they don't care if there is electricity or not, but they want Wi-Fi. And there are more people today who have access to a mobile or who have access to digital than people who have access to electricity. When we do our access to electricity operation, the first function is having the light. The second one is recharging my phone, which I have already, even if I didn't have electricity before. On there, the figures are staggering because you know that the episode 1 of the internet was about connecting people to people, and the episode 2 is about the Internet of Things, which is connecting people to their environment. And of course, everything we do in energy management and automation is among the first candidates to be connected. When you look at all this, the two are intimately linked. When we work with companies that want to supply digital, they come to us to make sure that power is available because you can't run your digital without power. The biggest cost in a data center today, of course, is power. And if you want to manage the volatility of renewable, the equation of energy, and particularly the efficiency, you need to merge it with automation and digitization. And that has been our story, and I'll come back on that since the inception. What have we done? I mean, the specialty of Schneider, the specialization of Schneider is to lead the digitization of energy management and automation. Two markets, roughly a total of 350 billion, growing 3 to 6% across the cycle, and both of them really merging or converging because everything in the energy space is getting connected. And one of the major elements of productivity anywhere is about energy management. And you can't dissociate them. If you want to save energy on this side, you've got to slow or modify your process. And if you want to make sure that your process deals with the changes, you have to make sure that there is the right power supply. And you see that the big companies present on that are on both legs because they need both to reach the performance that the customers need. Well, remind you a long history of innovation in that space. I won't dig back to 68, it's a bit too long. But 97, 20 years ago, the first Ethernet applied to shop floor automation. 2009, I know that some companies had the late revelation or recent revelation about the digital space on the Internet of Things. We launched EcoStruxure, which has our full and systematic Ethernet-based architecture almost 10 years ago. That was EcoStruxure, and went into a full IoT end-to-end architecture that we have relaunched in 2000 or launched in 2016. So a consistent history of pioneering the digital and energy convergence and going from the on-premise step 2009, 97, 2009 into the IoT-based architectures 2016. And when customers come to us, it's never really about technology. And frankly, we are not obsessed by it, but what is important is to come to results and outcome for our customers. And the main outcomes that you're going to see as constant through all the architectures that we are developing are around energy efficiency, up to 65%. Well, this building is one example, went to 75% when we took that traditional building and instrumented it. With an average of 30%. We base that on project data that we have accumulated over the past 10 years. Productivity, 50% on the CapEx phase, the design phase. We don't speak enough about that, but for many of our customers, the cost of design and the time of design is as important as many other parameters, and particularly the OPEX. Minus 30% on OPEX, maintenance, people running on the shop floor to take care of the installations. Reliability, 50% less outages, 50% less breakdowns by doing preventive maintenance, on the objective to go to zero emissions. Take the example of Schneider. We've taken the commitment to be carbon neutral by 2030, which is pretty much tomorrow. And we've taken commitments on our energy consumption, minus 50% by 2025, and to be also fully renewable or supplied by renewable between 2025 and 2030. And yesterday, I started my day because Schneider had taken the leadership in France to support this climate week, to lead a pledge of 90 companies in France, representing 1,500 billion euros of turnover, all of them deciding to go to carbon emission reduction, all of them going to energy efficiency, to more sourcing of renewables. And all of those are immediate customers for Schneider. Because when you take those commitments, you have to measure, you have to instrument, you have to save, you have to better share. So those guys are all going into the direction. For me, who's been following those think tanks for the past 15 years, tell you it's a big tipping point. There was a lot of resistance till 3 years ago, and that's massively changing as we go today. So EcoStruxure. Let's go into, I would say, the fundamental or the transversal characteristics of EcoStruxure. Well, EcoStruxure is an ecosystem. And we define an ecosystem by a platform, which is a place where communities work together to develop solutions for customers. And I'm going to try to go through the strong foundations that we have for EcoStruxure. That's going to be detailed then after by Philippe, Kevin, Peter, and colleagues that you're going to speak with today. But why a platform? Because it's a plug-and-play IoT-ready infrastructure. One thing that I want to mention, the presence we have at the edge, because at the end of the day, you saw that in the introductory video, automation on IoT makes sense if you can close the loop. We are not, as CEOs of companies or operators of the companies, to look for more anxiety-producing data. What we want are machines which are resolving the problem. And you can resolve the problems at the edge. You can't do it remotely on a cloud. So the second point also is that we've done tremendous effort, financial, technological, in the past 10 years to converge the edge. Many companies have many legacies. We have one edge for each architecture, which means our community can develop on one platform for each EcoStruxure. Digital lifecycle management, the big thing of digitization is that you have digital twins of what you do, and you can digitize everything from the time you design, you build, you operate, and you maintain your installations. And then going into the community space, the necessity to have domain and segment expertise, because our customers don't care about technology. What they care about is their application. A large digital service portfolio, because digitization has sense only through services which are rented to the user, on an open partner ecosystem which is developing and that we keep growing. Okay, so now everything you're going to see today is about the 3 layers. And I would like to go through strong points that you will find, strong foundations that you will find in every of our EcoStruxure architecture. So in the field of plug-and-play architecture, what defines EcoStruxure is the following. First point is we have one EcoStruxure per domain which combine together to form complete solutions for our customers. And those EcoStruxure correspond to big traits, big specialities which combine together in any kind of installation. I'm going to be, or try to be clearer on that one in the next coming slides, taking the example of data center under the control of Kevin. And Kevin will be more detailed about that. Second point, connected products. Strong principle that we have at Schneider is that our connected products are developed on open standards because we know that our customers sometimes use them with our complete EcoStruxure, or sometimes they want to combine it with their own control architecture. For one reason is that we speak a lot about the Internet of Things, but for our customers, the Internet of Things starts with world-leading things. It starts with good things. And Schneider, as one characteristic, is that we are world leaders in number of line of business. So wherever they have already their own architectures, or they use our own architectures, they want to use our products, so we want those products to be open. One thing also that you have to realize that many of our products are going into every EcoStruxure. Breakers are going into every of our architectures. Drives are going into every of our architectures. You will find secured power, UPS, in most of our architectures. So products are not linked to an EcoStruxure. The verticality of an EcoStruxure starts with the edge on the layer 3. Second point, edge control. I started to speak about it. We have converged platforms, which is really important because converging platform from 5 to 7 legacies take what we had in the past in BMS or in industrial automation is a huge cost on a huge endeavor. But today we have backward compatibility on converged platforms for everything. And we are very attached to the edge because the edge closes the loop and it allows for manual control at the level of the installation. If you are in a building like this, you don't want this wing of the building to be blocked because we've lost the communication with the cloud. You want it to remain autonomous at the local level, and you want the local operators here to be able to take back control in case of an issue. Third layer, again, we want it to be open and agnostic because we recognize that industrial customers, real estate owners, they have a park of properties which has been built over time, over acquisition, and not all of it is Schneider. So when they want to aggregate their resources, their consumption, their everything, or compare their productivity, our systems at this level, those digital services, have to be able to accommodate that diversity of legacies. All of this is supported by a cloud. If the customer wants an end-to-end service and doesn't care about the cloud, they want us to host the data, what we call managed services, then we will offer the services and manage it on our own cloud. If the customer is very fixed about the choice of their cloud, then we want to be compatible with their choice. And finally, there is no customer that doesn't start the subject of connectivity without speaking about cyber security. And here, I would say it's an endless fight. We are working on it absolutely every day. And then everybody has to be quite humble. But we have integrated cyber security, which is really facilitated by the fact that we have converged platforms. We don't have to work on cyber security on a very scattered base of controls. And we have tailored cyber services that we develop for our customers. So when we speak about the plug-and-play integrated architecture on open, this is what we are talking about. So now if I move on to speak about the example of the combination of the diverse architectures to answer an application, when we do a data center, you will find the data center EcoStruxure Power, which is taking care of the medium voltage, low voltage, that we go into EcoStruxure IT, that takes care of the whole IT infrastructure, including the UPS. And you will have EcoStruxure Building that takes care of the BMS and the security of the building. And that makes an unbeatable offer in the data center with all the products which are connected, and they can be connected to each of the EcoStruxure, with system on the edge which manage their part of the architecture but have been designed to be compatible, and with a series of analytics that manage the resources, the assets, and the power of the whole system. And Kevin will go a little bit more in detail. But this has made that starting from being a challenger 10 years ago, we took a leadership position in the data center space, and because, well, this guarantees two things. Full reliability of the energy, which is the first value expected from data center owners in the field of energy, on the speed to design data centers, which is in weeks rather than months. And that's very important for our customers in this space. One thing that it meant for us is that we started from a space which was the secured power space, where we are meeting incumbents specialized on the secured power space. And we build on it a much more complete system. So data center is representing 2.2 billion of revenue in 2016. I'm speaking about complete systems of data center. On the low voltage, medium voltage part that we report in our accounts as building and infrastructure, and we've committed to simplify that denomination because it can be seen as confusing, has been growing mid-single digit over the past years, which we are a bit tense in terms of growth of the market. So we've grown better than the market in data centers, and data center has been one of our fastest growing segments in the past years. So speaking about the edge, and I already spoke a lot about it, close the loop, capacity to take over locally on the edge, on one platform for each of the ecostructures. I won't go into the detail, but the core of EcoStruxure starts at the edge because this is where the architecture is collecting the data and managing the local processes, and the part of the process is managed on the edge, and the rest is managed on the analytics. So in building, we've got two cores, one for small building, one for large buildings. In power, you don't have exactly the same system for very small installation where you manage the power of a refinery, for instance, which is very mission critical and very complicated. In IT, one platform to go into the plant space where we have a discrete and hybrid, one continuous process, on one safety shutdown platform that combine sometimes in application. But what is important is that we've done the work of convergence of our edge. On this edge, they combine together, there again, for speed of integration. And I'd like to, I was recently, actually 2 or 3 weeks ago, in Egypt, where we've delivered a complete work in natural gas, mixing a huge power, EcoStruxure power project together with a huge automation DCS system. And we delivered it in 2 years, while that kind of project normally would be delivered more in 4. And that was coming with a combination of integrated architecture between power and automation. And the customer, seeing the criticality of the project, wanted that one responsibility between power and automation. And it came from the natural integration of the two architectures, the two EcoStruxures, the two platforms, and also from the fact that we had teams in Egypt locally able to deliver the entirety of the project. Point 3, it's about the digital lifecycle management. And I really won't dwell on that, but when we speak about digital and you create a digital twin of your installation, you transport a digital object from design into the building phase and the commissioning phase, which if you've ever commissioned an automation system with multiple I/Os or a big power management system with multiple cubicles is not simple, into operation and into maintenance. So massive simplification of the cycles that you have here from design to build into operation and maintenance. And Peter will come back on that, especially in the light of what we project to do with AVEVA in the field of continuous process. Moving on to communities. Well, there is a question that I'm asked often at Schneider, which is why did you move into solutions, right? Because it was more complicated, you are on a learning curve. We feel sometimes it has been dilutive to what you are doing. When you move into digital, you have to be close to the application. You have to understand the application of a customer. People are not buying technology, they buy the know-how of somebody who understands water networks, who understands hospital management, data center management, mining operations. They want people who know that. And we were convinced, and I think I've been clear from the beginning on that power would get connected and would be merging with automation. And we didn't have at that time any knowledge, any solid knowledge of the automation. So we developed, step by step, it's been sometime a hard journey, that knowledge of solutions. And today we are present in oil and gas, in mining, in F&B, in water, in construction, in utilities, in data centers, on machineries, with teams on the ground who can speak with customers, not about our products, but about their problem. And when we speak to them, while we are tackling their needs on solutions to their problems, from energy efficiency, asset management, productivity, occupancy management in buildings, for instance, reduction of carbon emissions, with an adapted solution for each and every of their application case. Now, when we do that, the next step is to make sure that we keep developing the software, we keep developing the services, we modularize the architecture of control, and then bring back a large part of that to our partners, who do that in a much more capital and scalable way, and make sure that we reach the right level of profitability. But from that point of view, EcoStruxure is now served by a network which is internal and external of partners, of people who understand the application of the customers and are able to put them into operation. When we speak about digitization, what gives sense to digitization and connectivity are digital services, right? It's when you transform what you have connected on the big amount of data into things which are meaningful for your business. I would say that most of our customers, and myself as a CEO, we don't need big data, we need small data, but relevant to what we want to accomplish. And actually, we want analytics, artificial intelligence to isolate in between all the data which are born in our systems, the right parameters so that we do our business better. So again, won't dwell into the details, but we have already 40 digital services in the name of Schneider, plus there are others which are developed by our partners. Don't try to count the one on the slide, it's an extract. All right. I know that you are very good at math. It's just an extract of it. And we have 20 more which are in development in 2018. One example is Blackstone using our analytics to manage their park of real estate with entailed savings over 4 years. I would take the example of Schneider. We have, even if it's our business and we've been relentlessly working on it, over the past 3 cycles of 3 years or 4 cycles of 3 years program, we've been cutting our energy consumption by 10% every 3 years. There is always a reserve of things you can do, especially when you start to bench your installation and bench the way proceed with what they do. You can always grind more costs out and reduce your carbon emissions. Well, on the top of that, we bring more and more asset management. We were speaking with some of you this morning about what we do in the field of monitoring of the building mechanical assets. Of course, asset monitoring of power, which we do in this case with Capgemini. On quite a lot of business that we do with big rotating machines in oil and gas, in utilities, that we do with our portfolio of software with another advisor on assets. So another thing that we do on data and efficiency is that what we did at the Shedd Aquarium of Chicago, which is a very delicate place in terms of temperature management. You can threaten a lot of animal life here if you don't do it properly. Results 50% energy savings by 2020 by using our suite of software on EcoStruxure applied to this application. 6 foundations that we have with EcoStruxure. Digital is a place of collaboration and openness. We, from the beginning, have chosen to operate on open standards and with an ecosystem of partners. So that's true at the level of technology, where we have been developing close relationship with a number of partners here. We were yesterday with Microsoft here, in front of President Macron, actually, showing what that we do in the field together of Internet of Things for monitoring of technical facilities. It's also true at the level of standards of development that we choose at every level, connected products, edge on digital services. And more so, it's true at the level of a community of integrators and developers that we have created and developed around the world, and which are developing every day solutions based on our technological platform. I'd like to finish my presentation by speaking about two things. The first point is that I would like to speak about business impact that EcoStruxure has on Schneider. We spoke about the outcomes for the customers, but it has also to make sense for our company, right? And when I look at the value creation that we see today around EcoStruxure, except that it entails quite a lot of costs of development in digital and creation of capability in the field of solution, what we see is that the first value creation is that when you go from unconnected to connected products, well, it comes with an increased value for the customer, and therefore increased revenue per unit of product. But more so, it comes with a 24/7 relationship. Your relationship, which was selling and then being disconnected from your customer, is over. So when we stay connected, then it's the best entries that we have to supplementary services on new values we can provide to the customer. Then when we can sell our edge control, that creates even more value on an application. And of course, when we go into services, software, and analytics, again, another layer of value. And all of those values are very profitable. When you look at what we are doing today is launching every year new generations of connectable products. And Philippe will come back, I'm sure, on that because it's one of his natural craving. But you go from an unconnected product to a connectable product, and then if you sell the service, it becomes an asset under management. Therefore, you start to have recurrent services or recurrent revenues coming from it. And what we see today as we speak at the end of September, but it's the same at the end of this month, is that we have the quantity of asset under management, and we had shared that number with you recently, is increasing by 20%. So the connectable products, which in fact are connected to our cloud. Now, when we speak about connectivity, it has multiple facets. We have a huge advantage at Schneider, is that we are present in many of the power systems of the world, which control somewhere the behaviors of many of the buildings and industries in the world. So connecting the unconnected is the first source of digitization. Then we've got offers that allow to retrofit existing installations, brownfield. They can be sophisticated. This is our traditional EcoStruxure power offer. Or they can be more ruggedized, where we use power tags or CTs and thermostats and humidity, temperature sensors that we put in the electrical rooms and electrical cabinets to complement the level of information and correlate it with the data we get from this level. So multiple sensing points. And when I speak with customers, I meet many customers who are very often much closer than they think of an IoT architecture. I know that some companies have publicized that if you need to go to IoT, you need to redeploy a lot of sensors. But the reality is that many installations are already instrumented. The only problem is that those data are not used and they are not connected to a cloud where you can redeploy computing on analytics. What we are doing today is coming back to our existing install base, those 480,000 systems which are already installed, and making sure connect the connected. And make sure that you get to a next layer, which is that layer of digital services, when we can go into a deeper breadth of services, predictive maintenance, aggregation of consumption, advice on managing your energy or your process. And that is actually a good source of creating more intimacy and revenues with our customers. So that's what I was just saying. We are turning data into business actions. And you see here 480,000 sites, 20,000 integrators and developers, services which are already developed. And when we look at the future, what we want to do is here keep turning our non-connected products into connectable products, move them into assets under management, would it be through an edge or direct to our cloud, and we want that to be growing double digit. Then, when you look at the layer 2 and the layer 3, they have to go faster than the average of the group, of course. And if you look where we are at the end of today, year to date 2017, and you exclude oil and gas, which has been impacted by the present prices, we are seeing a high single-digit growth for those 2 layers outside of oil and gas. So that will enhance our growth profile and contribute to reaching the objectives that we had shared with you of having a company that grows consistently through the cycle between 3 to 6%. So what I wanted to share here is that EcoStruxure is a business which is really a business of today, and we enable it also by a digital enablement inside the company on an investment in training, in competencies, which is multiform. Well, Chief Digital Officer, Hervé was introduced before. Hervé is in charge of developing the transversal digital organization, but we want the digital to be part of the business, to be with the people who are developing solutions. Hervé is doing the layers of things which are common to all of our architecture. And I want Philippe and Peter and Frédéric, who is in charge of EcoStruxure Grid, to feel directly in charge of their digitization and their digital architecture. We are concluding technological alliances, and we have a team dedicated to that. All the CTOs of our line of business are participating to a board where they adopt the same standards. We are deciding our resource allocation of digital in executive committee, and that session actually happened 3 weeks ago, and we are still in speaking terms around this table. It has been, as always, a complicated and a precise process. We are mapping our competencies, have hiring plans, have university partnerships, have put into place digital learning. We have a digital barometer inside the company, putting together several dimensions of digital where we measure, like in our Planet and Society barometer, the kind of progress that we have across the company. We have incentives. Digital is part of the key incentives of the leaders on everybody in the company. And it has to be completely and formally accepted, but from next year, we're going to have a digital committee at the level of the board of directors of Schneider to review and challenge the initiatives we're having. And then we are developing an ecosystem of digital. Emmanuel, present here, is driving an incubator with external and internal initiatives on external companies, which is surrounding Schneider of faster and innovative startups complementary to what we do. So that concludes my introduction. Now we're going to go to the practical works, and I'm going to call Philippe on stage for EcoStruxure Power. Thank you.